This video is about writing essays. The writing process consists of 5 stages: pre-writing, organising, drafting and revising, editing, and proofreading. In this video, we will focus on the editing stage, which is concerned with 2 aspects of your essay. First, we will look at grammar, and then at punctuation. Grammar is a large subject. In this video, we will concentrate on the most common types of grammar errors: subject-verb agreement, verb tenses, pronoun reference, sentence fragments, run-on sentences, misplaced and dangling modifiers, and parallelism. We will now discuss each in turn. Subject-verb agreement means that your verb must be conjugated correctly to agree with the person and number of your subject. We have first, second, and third person, and plural and singular subjects. A basic rule would be that singular subjects take regular verbs, and plural subjects take plural verbs. This is a simple rule, but there are some cases that can cause confusion, as demonstrated in our example sentence. One of the best-known pilgrims are William Bradford. The verb in this example does not match with the subject, but with the object of a prepositional phrase. The true subject of the sentence is the singular one, and so the verb should also be singular is. The intervening prepositional phrase of the best-known pilgrims does not affect subject-verb agreement. The complexity of adding a prepositional phrase between the subject and the verb is one case that can cause confusion for writers. Others include intervening appositives, intervening adjective clauses, indefinite pronouns as subjects, inverted subjects and verbs, and the use of helping verbs. You can watch our videos on complex cases of subject-verb agreement, which provide detailed explanations by clicking the playlist card in the top right corner. A sentence may refer to 2 or more time periods, meaning that different verb tenses are required. However, unintentional shifts in verb tense that are not required can often cause confusion for readers. Our example sentence demonstrates an unnecessary shift in verb tense. The protagonist is Guy Montag, who came to realise the flaws in his society. Here we have the present simple verb is and the past simple verb came. A clearer reference to time would be to use both verbs in the present simple tense. So while is remains, came should be altered to comes. Pronoun reference is also a common error in writing. A pronoun is used to refer to a noun. The noun to which it refers is called an antecedent. The link between the pronoun and its antecedent must always be clear for the reader. Our sentence demonstrates an example of the confusion unclear antecedents can cause. When Tom Buchanan first met Gatsby, he paid him little attention. In the opening dependent clause, we have names of 2 male characters, Tom Buchanan and Gatsby. And in the independent clause, we have two pronouns, he and him. It is unclear which pronoun refers to which character. So the reader could ask, who paid whom little attention? To fix our example, we can restructure the sentence as follows. Tom Buchanan paid Gatsby little attention when they first met. Now we have the third person plural pronoun they, which clearly refers to the character name antecedents. A sentence is a group of words that contains a subject and a verb and expresses a complete idea. It is common for writers to add periods to group words that do not meet this criteria, therefore creating sentence fragments. Our example, the United States, a nation of immigrants. By adding the verb is, we have now created a grammatical sentence. Of course, if a subject is missing, we can add a subject to the fragment to create a grammatical sentence. And if the group of words do not express a full idea, usually we need to turn the fragment into a dependent clause by attaching it to an independent clause. The opposite of a sentence fragment is a run-on sentence. This time, we have multiple independent clauses in a sentence with inappropriate or absent punctuation. Again, the example sentence demonstrates one type of run-on sentence. In 1620, the Pilgrims travelled to the New World aboard the Mayflower. They established Plymouth Colony. Here we have two independent clauses that are separated by only a comma. This is a comma splice. If we deleted the comma, we would have a fused sentence, which is two independent clauses in the same sentence with no punctuation between them. There are several ways to correct run-on sentences. We could change the comma into a period and add a capital letter to create two sentences, as we have done here. We could add an appropriate coordinating conjunction before the comma, or, if the sentences are intimately related, we could replace the comma with a semicolon. A further common error concerns modifier use. A modifier describes another word or phrase, but sometimes modifiers are misplaced, meaning that they seem to modify a different word or phrase than intended. Or, modifiers could be dangling, meaning that there is no appropriate word or phrase in the text for them to modify. The first example, the Puritans sought freedom from persecution in the colonies, contains a misplaced modifier. The phrase, in the colonies, seems to modify the noun persecution. This means that the persecution existed in the colonies, whereas the intended meaning is that the Pilgrims moved to the New World to escape the persecution that they had suffered in Europe. The second example, by settling in the New World, religious freedom was earned, contains a dangling modifier. The opening phrase, by settling in the New World, has nothing to logically modify, as no person or group is indicated in the clause. This raises the question, who did the settling? We can simply move the modifier as close as possible to the word that it is intended to modify. With the phrase at the beginning of the sentence, the Puritans are clearly shown to be in the colonies. With the dangling modifier, we need to restructure the sentence to provide a person or group to be modified by the opening phrase. In the revised sentence, it is clear that the Puritans did the settling. A final common error to discuss is faulty parallelism. Elements within certain sentence structures, for example lists, should be presented in matching forms. This can be demonstrated through our example. Of Mice and Men is a story about the fragility of hope, friendship, and loneliness. This sentence contains a list with 3 items: fragility of hope, friendship, and loneliness. The form of the first item, fragility of hope, is noun plus prepositional phrase, and this is different from the forms of items 2 and 3, which are simply nouns. All items in a list should have the same form to indicate their equal status. A couple of ways to correct this error are as follows. We could change the items into nouns: hope, friendship, and loneliness. Or we could change the items into 3 adjective plus noun combinations. So, we have covered 7 of the most common grammar errors. If you need more information on any of these aspects, please browse our grammar playlist through the card in the top right corner. The second concern of the editing stage is punctuation. Again, punctuation is a vast area with many conventions, so we will focus on the most common errors. Those are commas, colons, semicolons, hyphens, em-dashes, and quotation marks. We will now discuss each in turn. Commas are the most used mid-sentence punctuation mark and have multiple functions. This leads to mistakes in overuse and underuse. You should check if you have used commas with coordinating conjunctions to separate independent clauses, to separate introductory words, phrases, and clauses, to separate the items in series, to separate coordinate adjectives, and to set off non-essential sentence elements. If you would like more information on the conventions of comma usage, click the card in the top right corner to explore our comma playlist. A second punctuation mark that is commonly misused is the colon. Check that you have used colons to introduce lists, quotations, and formal statements, to emphasize the final word, phrase, or clause of a sentence, but that you have only used colons when preceded by a complete sentence. For more information, watch our video on colons by clicking the card in the top right corner. Semicolons are also cause for some confusion. Check your essay to make sure that you have used semicolons to separate independent clauses when no coordinating conjunction is used. With coordinating conjunctions to separate independent clauses if either or both clauses contain a comma. Before a conjunctive adverb that separates independent clauses. To separate items in a series when one or more of the items contain a comma. Again, more information is available through our video on semicolons, which is found through the card in the top right-hand corner. Hyphens can be a tricky punctuation mark to get right, due to the nature of compound words, such as compound nouns and compound adjectives. Check if you have used hyphens to join the two words of numbers from 21 to 99, to join the words of pre-modifying compound adjectives, to join the words of hyphenated compound nouns. The em dash, a specific type of dash, is also the cause of many errors, sometimes simply due to its confusion with other types of dashes. Make sure that you have used em dashes to draw attention to a parenthetical statement, to draw attention to a non-essential element, to emphasize the final word, phrase, or clause of a sentence. A more detailed explanation of em dashes can be found through the video in the top right-hand corner. Finally, we need to discuss quotation marks and their relationship with other punctuation marks. First, make sure that you have used quotation marks to set off quoted speech or writing, and to set off the titles of short stories, poems, and essays. And then check if you have placed all commas and periods inside quotation marks, placed all colons and semicolons outside quotation marks, placed question marks and exclamation points inside if they belong to the quote, or else outside of the quotation marks. So again, we have looked at the most common punctuation marks that cause confusion in essays. If you need any further information, our playlist on punctuation is available through the card. And that concludes our discussion on the editing stage of the writing process, checking grammar and punctuation. We hope that you enjoyed the video. And again, thank you for watching.